Okay, in this tutorial I'm gonna show you some of the basic things that you can do with JavaScript. Obviously, hopefully by now you have an idea of the difference between what you can do in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And you know that when it comes to JavaScript, it's about making dynamic content, things that you can't normally do with HTML and CSS. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you two simple things that you can include into your website to try and incorporate JavaScript. So the very first thing I'm going to do is create an alert box. Okay, so you might want to create an alert box to notify the user of something that you've changed in the website, to give them some information, anything of the sort. So it's very simple to do this. So let me just create my headings first. So welcome to my website, and now I'm gonna start writing the script, my JavaScript, just at the bottom of the body. And to do an alert box, it's quite simple. All you need to write between the two script tags is alert, and you open the bracket, and within the quotation marks you write what you want the pop-up box to say. So for example, I'm just going to say hello new user. So now we can just go ahead and try and see what happens in the website. So now it's loading up. There you go. You got the pop-up box saying hello new user. And if I press OK, you can see the content of the website. The second thing that I'm going to show you, which is also fairly simple, is how to add a date onto your website. Obviously you might want to make people aware of today's date, especially if they are looking at the showings for or the listings for the different films, and when they come out they might want to be reminded of what today's date is. Okay, so in order to do that, the very first thing that I'm going to do is to create a paragraph, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, and I'm just going to write date. Okay, let's just test it out. Obviously at the moment nothing really happens that is different from before, only the date text in there, but you still get your alert box and your welcome to my website. So in order to add a date to your website, you need to go onto your script and add the date code. Okay, now the date code is the following: document get element by ID, and then in the bracket and speech marks you put something that I'll tell you in a bit, but let me just write the rest of the code first. So what this code does is basically access an element of your HTML page that has a specific ID. And obviously at the moment, if you look at the elements of your page, which is h1 and the paragraph, there's nothing that has an ID yet. Okay, in order to add an ID, you need to go inside the tag that you want and add ID. And so now I'm gonna give it an ID. You can give it whatever name as long as it's consistent throughout your page. So I'm gonna give it, for example, I'm gonna write something that is easy to remember. I'm just gonna write year 8. Okay, obviously it's more useful if you use something that has to do with what you're doing, but obviously I'm just gonna use something to show you that you can write anything. And so in the ID you're gonna write year rate as well. And so what you're saying in this line is basically go inside this document. Inside this document, get an element that has the ID of year rate, and then once you found this element in your HTML page, give it today's date. So I'm gonna put the semicolon, and then I'm gonna test what happens, and hopefully this should be working. And you can see now today's date, which coincides with the actual date, so it means that it's working. And if I go and check it again, there you go, it's been updated. So it gets updated every time, okay? And so because of the fact that it gets updated every time, you don't need the content in there anymore, and so you won't have the word date coming up anymore, but you'd have, let me just close this, but you'd have the date coming in straight away. And there you go. Those are two simple things that you can do on your website. Try to incorporate it on your website as well and on your pages.